The big news that has come out this week, which has been rumored for months, is that LIV Golf, which again, Roman numeral 54, is changing one of its central tenets from 54 holes of competition to 72 holes of competition.
The LIV Golf League, the rebel tour that turned the golf world upside down with loud music, shotgun starts, and a 54-hole format, has just blown up its own identity. In a move that completely stunned players and critics alike, the Saudi-funded tour has announced that it is abandoning its signature format. Beginning in 2026, all LIV tournaments will be played over 72 holes, a direct copy of the traditional tours it once vowed to disrupt. This shocking reversal comes at a time when the tour is grappling with more than $1 billion in losses, raising a crucial question: is this a strategic masterstroke or an act of desperation? If you want the truth behind the headlines shaking the golf world, make sure to stay subscribed. This decision is an earthquake for a tour whose name LIV, the Roman numeral for 54, was based on the very format it is now dropping. Since its founding in 2022, the 54-hole three-day event was the cornerstone of their marketing. A faster, more modern, fan-friendly alternative to the boring four-day tournaments of the PGA Tour. Players were lured in with guaranteed money and lighter schedules, and fans were promised a product that was different. But behind the scenes of glitter and glamour, problems kept piling up. The biggest obstacle was the lack of official World Golf Ranking, OWGR, points. A crucial requirement for players to gain access to the four majors, the tournaments that define careers. The OWGR rejected LIV's application, partly due to its unconventional format. Now, after years of struggle, and with players plummeting down the rankings, LIV appears to be capitulating. The announcement, which shocked the golf world on the 4th of November 2025, confirmed that beginning with the 2026 season, all events will shift to a four-day, 72-hole format starting on Thursday. Although the team competition, another unique aspect of LIV, will remain, the core of what made LIV different has vanished. This change is undoubtedly an attempt to appease the OWGR committee and finally secure the long-desired ranking points. Without those points, LIV stars, despite their massive contracts, are becoming increasingly irrelevant in the context of the majors. Former world number one Dustin Johnson is a stark example. He has fallen to an astonishing 604th place in the world rankings. For players like him, entry into the Masters, the U.S. Open, the Open, and the PGA Championship is no longer guaranteed. The switch to 72 holes is a gamble, an attempt to crack open the door to the majors before it slams shut for good. The financial backdrop of this decision is equally dramatic. Recent financial documents from LIV Golf's UK arm revealed staggering losses of more than $1.1 billion since its inception. In 2024 alone, the loss exceeded $461 million. Independent financial directors even expressed material uncertainty about the company's ability to remain financially stable. Although Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund (PIF), with an estimated value of $925 billion, has pledged to cover all losses, the question remains: how long are they willing to bankroll a product that is bleeding so heavily? In an attempt to shift the narrative, CEO Scott O'Neill recently bragged that LIV secured $500 million in sponsorships in the past year from nothing. But this new stream of revenue pales in comparison to their massive expenses, and the decision to change the format may also be an attempt to make the tour commercially viable and more attractive to sponsors seeking stability and legitimacy. Players' reactions to this monumental shift highlighted the divisions and differing interests within the golf world. John Rahm, LIV's reigning individual champion, fully embraced the change. He called it a win for the league and the players. In a statement, he said, "We are competitors at heart and want every opportunity to compete at the highest level." The switch to 72 holes is the logical next step that strengthens the competition and tests us more completely. Dustin Johnson was also positive, noting, "Playing 72 holes just feels a little more like the big tournaments we all grew up with. I've always loved the grind of 4 rounds. It gives the best players the chance to rise to the top. For them, the change is a step toward the recognition and competitive structure they were used to on the PGA Tour. It's a pragmatic decision that improves their chances in the majors. But not everyone was convinced. Rory McIlroy, one of LIV Golf's most outspoken critics, called the decision a peculiar move. He openly doubted whether the format was the real issue behind the OWGR rejection. "I think they could have gotten ranking points with 3 rounds," McIlroy said. "I don't think 3 rounds versus 4 rounds was what held them back." He suggested that the weakness of LIV's fields, which only worsens as players drop down the rankings, is a much bigger problem. "It brings them back in line with what everyone else does and not really as a disruptor," he added, a jab at LIV's original mission. McIlroy's skepticism strikes at the heart of the matter. Will this change be enough to fix LIV's fundamental issues? Or is it merely a cosmetic adjustment meant to stay relevant? The analysis of this decision is complex. On one hand, it is a clear admission of the failure of LIV's original vision. The promise of golf but louder has faded into golf, but more like everyone else. The Rebel Tour has sacrificed its most distinctive feature in hopes of gaining legitimacy from the very establishment it sought to destroy. This can be seen as a sign of weakness, an acknowledgement that their model wasn't sustainable without approval from existing structures, particularly the OWGR and the majors. Critics will argue that LIV has sold its soul for a seat at the table and lost its identity in the process. The name LIV itself is now an ironic reminder of a failed experiment. On the other hand, the switch to 72 holes can be viewed as a smart, strategic pivot. LIV's leadership may have realized that the fight against the OWGR was unwinnable under the old format. By adapting, they remove a key argument used against them and increase pressure on the OWGR committee to award ranking points. If LIV events are now structurally identical to PGA Tour events, on what grounds can they still be rejected? It's a calculated risk. Additionally, it could make the tour more appealing to a broader audience and to sponsors who prefer a familiar format. It may also open the door to eventual reconciliation with the PGA Tour, as the two products are now much more similar. It may be less revolutionary, but it could be a more sustainable path forward. The future of LIV Golf now depends on what happens next. The first test will be the OWGR's response. If ranking points are awarded, the decision will be vindicated as a success. Players will once again be able to climb the world rankings and secure their place in the majors. This would give the tour a massive boost and make it more attractive to future recruits. But if the OWGR again refuses, citing other issues such as the closed team structure or lack of a cut, then the change will be seen as a failure. It would leave LIV in an even more precarious position, without a unique selling point and still excluded from the majors ecosystem. The stakes are enormous, and the entire golf world is watching. As the dust settles, LIV Golf stands at a crossroads. The decision to switch to 72 holes has changed the tour forever. It has traded its rebellious image for an attempt at conformity, a gamble that will define its future. Is this the beginning of a new, more legitimate era for LIV, or the beginning of the end, a slow assimilation into the system it once sought to overthrow? The players have spoken, the critics have weighed in, but the ultimate outcome rests with the golf establishment. The billions of dollars from Saudi Arabia's PIF have shaken the sport to its core. But now it appears that even with limitless resources, tradition and structure carry a price that cannot be ignored. The next chapters of this golf drama will reveal whether LIV's big gamble pays off. What do you think of this decision? Is it a smart move or the end of the LIV revolution? Let us know. And don't forget to subscribe for the stories shaping the future of golf.